the studio.
We're live.
Live and well.
Live and well. And we are going to talk about an interesting conversation tonight. But before we do that, you can dial in and chime in if you want to get on the conversation tonight. What's the number, Mark?
I don't hear myself anymore. I think you've accidentally reduced my volume. Well, our phone number is 270-945-3418. That's 945-3418. Call us. We'll put you on the air if that's what you want. Take your questions or whatever it is that you want to talk about tonight. We've got a couple of great topics to go over, as Steve alluded to. One thing I want to make sure we hit on right now. Daniel Cameron will be in town October 17th.
Yep.
If you want a ticket to come see him, give us a call, 270-945-3418, and we will help you. We will let you know what the costs and things and where it's going to be. But he's going to be here. He's going to be over in Doe Valley.
Yep.
And at
to be
the
clear,
Swimming Tennis Club, October 10th. I may have said 17th, but I'm sorry. The date is October 10th. At 6 p.m. Doe Valley Swimming Tennis Club.
This is a fundraiser.
And this is a fundraiser.
So call for the tickets, because this is going to be a great opportunity for us to engage. And those that are heavily invested in who our next governor is going to be, I suggest you get a ticket.
Because, come out and at least meet him, talk to him. This will be an opportunity. It'll be a smaller group, other than rather than
that's right.
Versus when we go to have our big Lincoln Day dinners and things like that. So you'll have more one-on-one time with him and things like that. So if you're interested, give us a call, 270-945-3418. It's also the number to call in tonight if you want to just talk.
That's right. This is an important race, and we are down to the wire trying to get Daniel Cameron across the finish line. And if you care about that, this would be a great opportunity to make some of those final last-minute judgments and get behind your candidate, Daniel Cameron, for the Republican Party and the state of Kentucky.
We also have signs if you're interested in getting a sign, and we are still looking for people to help knock on your neighbors' doors, call your neighbors. We need your help to get the word out to go vote for straight Republican ticket. I think it's important that we continue to push our Republican principles, that we not push them, but we stand up for them, and we go out and we vote this. We vote if you have moved over to the Republican Party in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there's no reason for you to go. For you to change the party and then go vote for a Democrat who's there's a reason you left the Democratic Party. So we need people to be focused and go out and vote and vote for Daniel Cameron, because I think we believe that he is going to stand up for your principles, no matter who comes after him. You've seen how Andy Beshear has been over the last, during his term. He sues at every turn. He doesn't want to talk and work with the legislature. He just wants to react. He was a lawyer, for goodness sake, and that's what he wanted. He was, he wants to just go out and sue and sue and sue. And I think that Daniel Cameron takes a different tact. He works with people. He talks to the legislature. Works with his fellow
party,
not just in the party, but his fellow office holders and things, and on the state capitol and the local. He has the endorsement of the
Donald Trump.
He has the endorsement of Donald Trump. He has the endorsement of the police and the sheriff's departments. He's a young, energetic man who has strong conservative principles, and he will lead Kentucky into the future. He will work with us, work with the legislature. He will help bring about change that gets us on a path to less income tax, increased jobs, increased and yes, he will take care of teachers' pensions, and he will work with the legislature to make sure those things are funded. Don't listen to the garbage that's on these ads, these attack ads. Anyway, I'm going to get off my stump here tonight, and we're going to talk about this subject that's near and dear to Steve. So, Steve, why don't you introduce us?
So tonight we're going to have a little bit of an introduction. Going to talk about something. I've served for many years and over that time, you think about what does it mean to be an American, right? And then you think about
And we sing songs about it all the time.
we sing songs, but they're slowly removed from the classroom. And over time, our country is getting indoctrinated. So what got me thinking about this is all the confusion and not even confusion, but it is definitely, if you haven't noticed lately, if you're on Netflix or you're on Amazon or you're on one of these channels where you watch movies, there is a lot more Chinese content. Your TikTok, your kids are, 700 something million on TikTok, right? There's a lot more learn how to speak Chinese. They're teaching Chinese in a lot more schools. This week, there was a discussion where it came out about the movement for the New World Order by China, right? That was heavily talked about on obviously on Republican themed networks because that is what we don't want. And I just kind of wanted to start off with a little bit about a couple of things that came across. I thought this one was interesting. It kind of defines what is a conservative, right? And this came from the Catholic Church many years ago. But I just wanted to read it. It says a conservative is not an extremist. And we witnessed extremism when we saw Antifa robbing the streets. You see extremism when you see the looting in the streets and all this other stuff. That's extremism. We are not that. We are not for that. And another point of that, I just want to keep going. And a conservative is in control of his thoughts and his physical actions and strives to live by the golden rule. Now, there's a theme through this because you hear a lot about God. And a lot of that is removed, but it is still in our Congress. It is still in courtrooms. It is still everywhere you go because it is in the Constitution.
Now, what is a conservative?
This is what is a conservative. I'm going to read the whole thing.
Where are you getting that at? Where's that coming from?
This is from the copyright 1895 conservative media copyright document. So I'm reading it right off, and it was well published through the Catholic Church. But the conservative recognizes the Ten Commandments as the primary rules by which all humanity must abide in order to live productively in harmony and I'm losing my spot because I'm looking at the wrong screen. In order to live productively in harmony and according to the will of God. A conservative believes that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America were founded in the laws of God and that their authors were God-inspired. As a conservative, I pledge to live by the laws of God and to preserve and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. Now, that's profound, right? From a religious perspective, and I would say that fits, me as a conservative because I like the golden rule. I think you treat others as you would want to be treated. That removes all indications of race, right?
It does. It has no. This is all about you as an individual and how what your responsibility is to maintain that harmony and maintain. It has nothing to do with telling someone else.
Right.
It's telling you how you should behave.
That's absolutely right. And through my researching, I was looking to see, does the Republican Party have a creed? And then I was looking, does the Democratic Party have a creed? And it's interesting because if you go to both pages of, I'm just going to the National Conventions page, but if you go to the National Conventions page, they have our platform, right? But they don't specifically have a creed. But most of the states, and our platform this is coming from the National Conventions, rnc.org. You can look this up yourself, but it says Republicans believe in liberty, economic prosperity, and remember that, economic prosperity, preserving American values and traditions, and restoring the American dream for every citizen of this great nation. As a party, we support policies that seek to achieve these goals. Policies. Okay.
Yep.
Our platform is centered on stimulating economic growth for all Americans, not just Republicans, protecting constitutionally guaranteed freedoms, which goes back to what the conservative is. We believe in the Constitution of the United States. We believe in the preamble of the Declaration of Independence. We believe in the Declaration of Independence, and ensuring the integrity of our elections and maintaining our national security, which is going to be interesting. Remember national security, because I'm going to read you something that was written by a liberal many years ago, and it's called the Americans Creed. And it's actually on a sign posted in Illinois somewhere. I'm going to get into that in just a second. But remember that statement, security, maintaining our national security. And we are working to preserve America's greatness for our children and our grandchildren. And that requires a conservative approach to our economics and our spending, which is what the government's in a problem with doing right now. Now, hold that thought, because I'm going to talk about everybody in whole and in general about what I think moving forward as we're getting ready to close out our state elections and what we're looking at on a national level.
Yep.
And you're watching trouble right now in our Congress and within our own party, right? And it goes back to some of our talking points that we've had previously before. But I'm going to build up to it, Mark. So hang in with me real fast.
I'm hanging.
The Republican Party's legacy. Interesting that they put this. We were originally founded in 1854 for the purpose of ending slavery. That is a true statement.
That is the true statement. That is.
Wait till I show you.
It was the number one plank in the platform.
That's exactly right. And it also incurred the Freedmen's Bureau. The Republicans were responsible for the Freedmen's Bureau, which put Union soldiers back in the southern states to ensure that white, underprivileged, and African-American slaves who were freed were given the same opportunity and pay as any other white man doing the same job. And that white underprivileged were given the same pays and opportunities and equality in a rich or predominant market, because the Democratic times they wanted to preserve slavery. I'm going to show you something from the Democratic book and what they were before, and then the platform that they use. I still believe that at some level we have created slavery within our United States again by teaching our Americans that they should just borrow until they can't borrow no more, and
making them a slave to debt.
To debt and
well, I mean, when you look at the Bible tells you, don't be a slave to your sin.
That's right.
I mean, that's directly how the Bible. That's how the Bible looks at it. So your sin could be, in this case, it's like gluttony, or greed.
Exactly.
And these things are what happens, right? I mean, it
creates a rift between people. It puts color against color, family against family. We ran into
it allows for that. It shouldn't. It doesn't have to, but it does, because there's always somebody who wants to control the group, that all the groups, and say, well, this is because you're this.
This is
and
why
that's
you should
why
vote
they
for me.
don't like you. So vote for me.
That's right.
And that's what it's deteriorated to.
And then there's a reason why I'm bringing all this up, because I want you to vote based off of what I'm going to teach you tonight. And if you're paying attention, follow along. So I've already pointed out about stimulating economic growth. This is on the Republican platform. And I've also talked about maintaining our national security, which I do believe in for many other reasons, and we'll get into that. But the Republican Party...
I would hope you do.
Yeah. All right. So compels us to particularly defend Americans' values as the left attempts to destroy what makes America great. Right now, America, we're not great. Republicans, if you think that America is great right now, I would say we're not great. We're not great. And we're not great because we're last in incarceration. We're last compared to other countries in education. We're last on numerous levels.
Yeah, that's another subject. Though.
It is another subject.
Why I do not care how we compare to other countries. What I care about is, do our people have opportunities here?
Absolutely.
Can they build a life here and make not? I don't care if they can get rich or not, but can you build a life? Can you raise your children here and be proud of who your children are, who your family is? I don't care about how we compare to Russia, how we compare to China. All I care about is, are we doing the right things for our children and our children's children and moving forward? You
are absolutely right. That came out of the first reading that I gave you, which was about that piece from the Catholic Church, right? So I'm just building a storyline. Just follow me.
So far, I'm passing the conservative test.
You are, but I'm also throwing a curveball in, saying that America's not great. Wait till I read you what I'm going to read you.
But those are slogans. Go ahead. You're making a point, and I don't want to.
You're good. No, you're fine. But anyway, the Republican Party is standing in the breach to defend our nation, and our way of life. Okay, these are great sound bites, right? Let me take you back in time for just a moment, and you just think about those sayings. And I want to take you back to what was written before. One was written in the 1950s. All right, I'm going to read you this one, the American's Creed. It was written in the 1950s. A liberal commentator who had a number of aborted runs for public office wrote some of the most important words in modern America.
Who is that?
I'm getting to it. Hold on.
I gotcha.
Dean Alfonge, a progressive and labor activist, wrote the following 163 words, and it was first published in a Reader's Digest in 1952. Now, this is... he died at age of 91, which is pretty cool. But the plaque sits in Hagerstown, Indiana. And it's a placard. I'm going to show it to you right here. This sits on, it says American's Creed. Now, this is actually used commonly as a Republican creed in numerous states' conventions.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm going to read it to you. I do not choose to be a common man. I love the wording, and throughout this, you're going to love
Now, this is the Republican Creed?
in many states, they use this as a Republican creed, and it was written by a liberal man who ran for office numerous times. But if you read this, it fits exactly what was described in the previous. But listen to how off it is.
You got it. Go ahead.
Okay, so I do not choose to be a common man. I agree with that. I do not choose to be common. I do not choose to go with the common grain. It is my right to be uncommon. I seek opportunity to develop whatever talents God gave me, not security. Going back to the Republicans' creed, or the Republicans' platform. Now, obviously, this is 1950s. We kind of have a border problem. We need some security, okay? But I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dulled by having the state look after me. That's powerful. Because right now, that's what the Democrats would like you to have, is to be dulled by staying at home and not working and not being a functioning member. This is why I say that we have a problem in America.
But
And we're teaching that.
Just to be distinctive, liberalism and socialism and communism are not exactly the same thing. So if someone claimed to be liberal, they would actually have called the Republican Party the Liberal Party in 1854.
Absolutely.
Right? Because liberalism...
We were not stuck on being stuck.
Right.
We were stuck on advancing our country, but we were also stuck on maintaining the principles that made us what our country was.
Right.
And I would say that if we had more Democrats thinking this way, and you're going to love where I'm taking you next.
Okay.
But I would like to get through this one.
Take us there.
So I want to take the calculated risk. I want to take the calculated risk to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for a dole. Don't pacify me and dole me as a government. Let me make my own risk. Let me make my choice. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. Haven't we heard that word before? Haven't we heard this word? And if you watch recently in the news talking about China and the New World, folks, you better wake up. They are
First of all, utopia does not exist.
It can't exist. There's always a powerful. Watch Hunger Games.
How many people out there have seen The Matrix?
Watch the Hunger Games.
Yeah. Well, let's think about this.
Yeah.
The Matrix, I think, is a better example. Let me tell you why.
I'm good.
Okay, so The Matrix actually specifically, this was actually talked about in The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go through all three movies, and towards the end, you get to meet the architect of The Matrix. And he is... he went through the explanation of why they chose the time period for everybody to live in and all this, right, inside the Matrix. And he said at first they tried, again, this is a movie, but this is just kind of proving this point.
It's built off of
They tried building a utopia. They tried getting everyone, letting everybody have basically everything, but it wouldn't survive. It would die itself out eventually. So what they found was there had to be a balance of conflict, and there had to be a balance of
people?
good living.
That's
and
right.
You had to have this back and forth, and then but that's what it means, because what happens is when you live in a quote unquote utopia, you're taking away my. Whose utopia are you living in?
Yeah.
Who gets to choose what utopia is? Because you're saying that I cannot choose how I want to live because I have to live the way you think utopia should be.
Therefore, I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any earthly master, nor bend to any threat. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to think and act myself, enjoy
For
the
myself, I think it says.
It says and myself. Act myself. It doesn't say for myself.
Oh.
Act myself. Enjoy the benefit of my creations, and to face the world boldly and say, this, with God's help, I have done. All this is what it means to be an American. Now, this is what's called the Americans Creed, 1950s, right? A gentleman who didn't. And back toward the Revolutionary War, it was commemorated as the Americans Creed came out. And in the Americans Creed, a lot of high school diplomas had this in it. Back when it was a routine thing to stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I don't think it was that particular one, was it?
What's that?
It wasn't that particular one we just read, was it?
No, that's not it.
Okay, you're talking about the Americans Creed.
Yeah, the Americans Creed is completely different. And I will read it to you as I show it to you. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let me click this over. So I'm going to read to you the Americans Creed, and it says, I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed. A democracy in a republic. A democracy in a republic. I want to say that very clearly. A democracy in a republic. We are not a democracy.
Nope. We use
we
use democratic processes to choose our Republican representative.
And our Democrats continue to stick on, we are a democracy. We are not a democracy, because a republic means that we are an organization of laws. The Constitution of the United States, first and foremost. This is where we keep trying to educate Democrats. But they keep winning because they own a large population of America, because they hand them free handouts that are based on the people that are hardworking.
Because they've stopped truly educating people in.
Oh, no, they've educated people.
No, they've indoctrinated people. They haven't educated people.
There's a difference, but they've used education to indoctrinate.
Yeah, well, then they have to stop. They have to stop educating people in order to get them to follow. Because if you educate people, if you truly educate people, they start thinking for themselves.
That's why I'm trying to go through this tonight and tell them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. But I just want to make sure that we clarify that, because it's not just a they educated them and they indoctrinated them. No, you can't indoctrinate without educate.
No, I got
while
that.
You educate, you have to.
But when you leave stuff out and you remove it from the history books and you only show them what they need to see to follow a certain line or attitude, that's indoctrination.
It is.
Yeah, you're leaving out the whole truth.
But you're not educating.
That's right.
But when we're done here, we're done with this. Let's go through some of these and let's define some things.
So I want to get back to the part where, so in consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable. Boy, we've been separated lately, haven't we? This is the Americans' Creed. Established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes, I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, and to respect its flag and to defend it against all enemies. And this is by William Tyler Page. I can't exactly make out the date on that. Let me see if I can. No, I'm not going to be able to.
It was in
1885.
It was the Americans' Creed
1785
was in 1917.
This memorial marker was dedicated in 1999. It exists in Florida. I pulled this one. There are many examples of this.
I'm gonna say if you go to if you pull it up on Wiki, Wikipedia, you'll see the Americans' Creed is hung at the Butler University's Jordan Hall.
Yeah.
It's the same exact what you just said, It says this is a written statement by in 1917 by William Tyler Page.
Yep.
As an entry into the patriotic into a patriotic essay contest or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
So I wanted to break it down a little bit because it's also come out as the Patriots Creed, and I think this is a great example. If you look up Patriots Creed, do a Google search. So it's the same thing, but it's broken down. I believe in the United States of America from the preamble of the Constitution as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, from the Gettysburg Speech, Abraham Lincoln, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, from the Declaration of Independence and a democracy in a republic, from the Federalist number 10, Article X of the Constitution of the United States. So this is breaking down
Article 10, right?
Article 10. Didn't I say that?
You said X.
Oh, sorry. Article 10.
You read it instead of
I got it. Thank you. A sovereign nation of many sovereign states. Article that's 4 of the Constitution of the United States. From E Pluribus Unum, motto of the Great Seal of the U.S. A perfect union from the preamble of the Constitution. One and inseparable from speech of Webster and U.S. Senate 126, 1830, and established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes from the Declaration of Independence. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, from Edward Everett Hale's The Man Without a Country, to support its Constitution from the Oath of Allegiance, Section 1757, Revision Stats U.S., and to obey its laws from Washington's Farewell Address, Article 6, Constitution of the United States, and to respect its flag, the Star-Spangled Banner, Army and Navy Regulations, War Department, Flag Etiquette, April 14th, 1917, and to defend it against all enemies. Amen. From the Oath of Allegiance, Section 1757, Revision Statutes of the U.S., and to uphold the creed. Now, this was created in a declaration, right? And I would say that the Patriots Creed, the Americans Creed versions, you can see throughout all or a lot of Republican parties across many states in order to preserve the Union. And I would say that that's profound. Because when I go in here to do a search, Mark, and this would be a great time to try to get some feedback from you, but when I go in to do a search for the Democratic Creed, Democrats Creed, it becomes quite clear and elusive immediately. But I'd like to get your thoughts on what you've heard so far.
So, I mean, some of the... First of all, the Americans Creed, I'd heard that before, but there's also, there's an Americans Creed that goes back even before the 1917. Mm-hmm. It was, there's some, I was trying to find it here, but there is a write-up, about, trying to find it here, about, going all the way back to Thomas Jefferson and an American's Creed. So what is a creed? Right? So what does the word creed actually mean?
I love that.
So a creed is let's just look up the definition real quick.
Wow,
so the creed is basically a resolution. It's an affirmation. It's an affirmation. It's something to live by.
That's right.
I mean, I was raised Catholic, and we had the Apostles' Creed, which is essentially you're saying these are the things that I will do as an apostle, as I walk in my faith. These are things that I will do to help bolster my faith and bolster Catholicism and or Christianity, and from that point. So I'm trying to get this to bring up a definition of creed. It's trying to be. It wants to take me to the Creed movie.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. There we go. So creed is a system of Christian or other religious beliefs, a faith. A formal, it's also the second one definition is, and this is from Oxford Languages. and I'm just doing it on a Google search here. So
Oh, you're good.
A formal statement of Christian beliefs, especially the Apostles' Creed or the Nicene Creed.
Council of Nicene.
And let's see. And the last one is a set of beliefs. The general term is the more general definition is a set of beliefs or aims which guides someone's actions. And so, and all of those things, it came from a Christian meaning, but it applies to what we're doing. I mean, you look at the Constitution of the United States, the Declaration of Independence. These are things that make up a creed. They're saying these are the beliefs that we have. This is coming from our beliefs, or maybe it's an action from our creed. It leads that our creed led to those actions. But you have to remember. I mean, there's people, especially today, don't have. They don't. It's hard to say that how many people actually have what a quote unquote a creed that they live by. Creed. Another way of saying creed is principles, right? These are the principles by which I live. I believe that each individual person has the ability to stand up and work and become successful in their own right. It doesn't guarantee that. You have to work towards it. You have to put in the effort. You have to put in, and it's not going to be an overnight thing. I think today everybody wants to be done, right? I need it now. I need it now. Well, you know what? It takes people. How long did it take Microsoft to become Microsoft?
Long time.
A long time. They started in the 70s, right? And they worked through the 80s, and it took them before they actually became what they are today. It was in the 90s when they started. It was in the 90s by the time they actually started becoming what you see in Microsoft today. Apple took a lot. Apple started before Microsoft, and it took them longer to get here to where they are.
Babies, iPhone.
Because the iPad actually created the conduit that allowed them to
iPod. It was actually the
iPod. The iPad. The iPhone didn't come out until 2007, but the iPod came out in the right around 2000, 2001 or something like that, and it became the iPhone, and that's what really allowed that kind of. But anyway, getting back to this, so I believe that anybody can become that. It's not. It doesn't. It doesn't take a rich person. It doesn't take a person with all the resources. You can start start very small.
Yep.
And you build your momentum by doing one or two things. Sell if you have an idea. And you've put the effort into develop that idea, and then you go and sell the idea, and you sell one, you sell two, you sell three, right? I believe that that's the American dream. The American dream is the ability, the opportunity to do that. It's not the success, right? American dream is not the success. American dream is the ability to do it, the opportunity to go for it, and everybody has that. But this again is where the educational system has let everybody down. They don't even teach that entrepreneurial spirit and that the principles of buying and selling. In school, they're so worried about a test against China. I don't care about China. I do care that China's trying to take us over through this indoctrination, that they're all in cahoots, that they think that the world can be lifted up only by America dying. And that's just not true. The fact that, that's why they don't want us to have gasoline cars. They don't want us to use fossil fuels to make electricity. Why? Because the Chinese have been building up and buying up all the special minerals, the rare earth minerals, metals that are out there that are used to make batteries. Because then they'll say, well, we'll corner the market. Well, there's not enough to go around. You've got to find something else. And yes, there are Americans out here working on finding alternatives to those things. But the Chinese, they're so built up on waiting for to hit the jackpot on the EV batteries. I read an article an article earlier today that Ford has put a halt on one of their battery plants, right? And that's got everybody all shaking and worried. And of course, right now you've got the unions are striking against Ford, GM, and whatever whoever the owner of Chrysler is these days, and they're the big three, right?
Yeah.
And they're they I understand they want these demands and things, but they're asking for like 40% or 45% increase in pay because they're trying to combat and get ahead of inflation. But all that's going to do is create more inflation.
Yep.
Every time we want more, it's got to come from somewhere. So the cost of things goes up, and then when the cost of things goes up, now everybody that wanted that thing has to get more. So they're asking for more, and so it's the balance was, we had low inflation for many, many, many years, and that keeps us keeps that entrepreneurial spirit
So let me
drive us back home.
All right, so I want to start off with this next scene, okay? And this is interesting. I just want to read this to you, okay? So where we stand. This is from the Democratic platform. It says, the Democratic Party writes and adopts a new party platform at each Democratic National Convention to detail our shared democratic values and policy priorities. You with me?
Yep. I've read it.
They rewrite it every time. You with me? Now, I'm going to take you back in time. It's an easy search. You can look it up right here. This is what the Republican Party has fought for decades. But this was the Democratic creed back in the early pre-Civil War. That's why the Republican Party was created. But they believed in largest liberty compatible with the existence of slavery. We believe in doing equal and exact justice to all men except where slavery requires us to do injustice. We believe that no monopoly. I'm not going to read all this because we've obviously moved past that. But it's because the Republican Party has maintained a valued culture of remaining conservative to the value that we are a republic, hence Republican Party. I want you to understand that. And I want you to read, I want to reread this again. Hold on, let me go back to it again. It was on the Democratic page. It's right over here somewhere. Where was it? I had it there. Trying to find it again. It was the page where it said they rewrite it every year. Doesn't matter. Here's the current Democratic creed. It's adopted by all of these states and counties in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, women's organizations, city organizations around. And I just want to go through this. You can read this. All people are created equal, that this America's fundamental idea. Absolutely agree. Wow, congratulations, Democratic Party. Because of the Republican Party, you have progressed since slavery to a different adoption. But you've just learned how to do it better. You've learned how to enslave people in a different way economically. And that America is a democracy by and for the people. No, we are a republic. You continue to confuse people. This is a republic. You use democracy so that you can hide behind the veil of policy versus the right of law, which helps protect Americans, was written for Americans, by Americans, for the people, by the people.
Just look up the word democracy and the etymology of it. And
I have that ready to go.
It's from demos, which is the demos is the mob. Basically, it is mob. It is mob rule. And it means that the mob will when you look at the overall idea of democracy is everybody gets a vote on everything. And you can't, that does not work. It never has worked. It only works in very small groups, just a few, because if you tried to get everything that happened in the United States to happen and get everybody in the United States to vote on one thing, we can't get more than 40% to get out to vote in a presidential election, right? Unless we stuff ballot boxes and stuff.
I got it. We believe these founding documents demand freedom, justice, and an opportunity for all Americans in full and equal measure, regardless of who you are. Pay attention, what you believe, pay attention, or where you live. So they don't care whether you believe in the Constitution or not, and they don't believe whether you're in China or a foreign country or whether their pockets could be lined or whatever. I'm just making this up, but I mean, it's out there. And this is what saddens me. I'm not going to go too much further. I'm really not trying to hear the Dimash, because I can also damage many Republicans. I'm going to go into one more thing. We, the Democrats of the United States of America. This is from the charter of the Democratic Party of the United States. This was 2021. I couldn't find one for recent because they haven't had their Democratic convention, but I'm sure you'll see a new preamble. We, the Democrats of the United States of America, united in common purpose, hereby rededicate ourselves to the principles. So they rededicate themselves every year. Yes. Isn't that nice? They come up with whatever narrative they need to win over the population instead of remaining consistent.
My question is who chooses it?
Anyway. Not going there yet. Recognizing that the vitality of the nation's political institutions has been the foundation of its enduring strength, we acknowledge that a political party which wishes to lead must listen to those it would lead, which means we would listen to those things that would corrupt our Constitution in order to sell the offices so that we can corrupt or line our pockets. I'm just going to say that. That's my opinion. But it's that they change to meet the needs or the voices of everybody. But I'm sorry, we are a nation of laws. Change the laws.
Absolutely.
Change the laws. What we seek for our nation, we hope for all people, individual freedom in the framework of a just society, political freedom in the framework of meaningful participation by all citizens, bound by the United States Constitution, aware that party must be responsive. Now, I believe there to be a lot of truth in this. For those liberal Democrats that meet much of what the liberal, Republicans believe. And somewhere in there is that group that we can all get along with. And I want to say for our Republicans in Congress right now, I think that there is a great need and measure to toll on this budget. I think that we do need to hold accountability to spending of Congress, and that we do need to secure our borders. If the Democratic Party is so interested in security, then we are right to hold our own party accountable as much as we are a right to hold the Democratic Party accountable. And amen to those Democrats and those Republicans that would stand up against their own party. Well, here's what I'm disappointed in. There was a vote in order to continue the budget, right? There was a vote on the floor. All House Republicans voted yes to fund the veterans. Now, this is something that the Democratic Party has well supported. They said, we support our veterans. Nothing else in the bill, nothing but veterans in order to fund the veterans. That was something that they could have all slapped the table and agreed on. Do you know what the Democrats did in the House? Not a single vote yes. Not a single vote this year. This week. Go look it up. And to me, that saddens me. That saddens me as a nation, because I think every American can get behind the American's creed or the American creed, regardless of your political party. And if we could all stand up under that creed, we could do away with a lot of the problems that this country has instead of the greed that has consumed our country. I would say that we live in the greatest country that has ever been created on the planet. If we can get behind our Constitution of the United States, and that we can stop being dulled as American citizens by some type of handout, and that we can assume the risk knowing that in a community of its citizens, by the people, for the people, of the people, that we could turn this nation around. I think that there is a lot of, and I would say it goes back to, what Trump probably ran on as the swamp, right? There is a lot of that. There's a lot of greed. Did you know that the wealthiest of Americans live around Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, I read that somewhere.
Right. So
the most of the
wealth in the country is all surrounding Washington D.C.
I mean, the San Jose makes an argument, but
America. This is what I would.
But
challenge
there's
to
more millionaires per capita in Washington D.C. than.
There's what I would challenge to you, America. You're about to vote on a lot of different topics coming up. Our state. I would say that I see a man who has come very far in his young life, who is running for our state governor. And I would say that I see in that man a man who lives by the American creed. If you just removed party altogether and ask yourself, who am I voting for? I would say vote for the person that lives most like the American creed.
Amen.
And if you can do that, I think that we as a nation can be more united. And I say that as a Republican to my fellow Democrats who can stand behind the American creed. You and I can have indifference, but if we both stand for the American creed, stand tall to the American flag, stand tall to the Constitution, and both agree that we are a republic and we will use a democratic approach in electing our people into those offices. I find it criminally ridiculous at the billions of dollars it takes to even run for an office today. And if you think about the RNC just had a Democratic debate last night, and Trump didn't show up, and for good reason. I think there's criticism to that and non-criticism to that. He's got a tremendous lead. There's a lot of faith in this country in what he did. We had a great economy. There's a lot of negative that came out of Trump's run for office. But I'm going to tell you, folks, in America, I think we should focus on our communities and learning to re-love America. And learn to love the laws that were given to us, our freedoms, and learn to stand by them. And then look to our congressmen and women, regardless of party, and hold them accountable. Just like the ones who are trying to hold our own parties accountable internally, I think that that's important. For one party to be completely united in order to prove a point for their own personal greed is not going to help our country.
No, it's not. It's that's what divides us. They are so united, and they've been so united. They basically have run off all those who weren't united with them, and they've all become independents or Republicans, and a handful have become other things. But maybe when you think about it, like maybe
I'm going to give an example. Gavin Newsom yesterday said, "Oh no, I'm not going to run against Biden. I'm a loyal man. I'm going to continue to stand behind Biden." I'm sorry, Biden's a crook. He's a freaking crook. Hillary just got a guilty charge. I forget what it was. I'm not even going to go down that road because I can't quote it. But Gavin Newsom said, "I'm going to stand behind Biden." I don't think that there is a normal human being who's seen everything in the news that they can possibly see. And even the liberal media has turned against and said, wait a minute, I think we might have been wrong. And some of their broadcasts about the corruption that exists right now. I'm sorry. I cannot look at a man who can barely walk downstairs and know that my country.
I mean, it has nothing to do with his physical ability.
It doesn't,
but his mental acuity is diminished.
No, and the fact that his son is taking advantage,
and he's corrupt. He even talked about being corrupt and things.
There's just too much physical evidence. Actually, it's circumstantial evidence. But when you put,
well, it's because they were very good at hiding it. They had some of the best.
But even circumstantial evidence is the best evidence. What's his name said that from Texas? Senator Cruz had a great article about circumstantial evidence, and there is plenty of visual circumstantial evidence that indicates enough evidence to say this is unethical. This is how we're leading our country. This is the leader of the Democratic Party leading our country, and that this criminality is okay. This ethic is okay. I'm sorry. I want to assume risk and earn things under the hand of God. And that's what I want to close with tonight. I want to close with that I want to know that at the hand of God, I earned what I earned in this life, and not through corruption, greed, or the demise of the American people. And I want to say to my friends out there and families and people that would criticize, I've learned a lot about criticism. I keep a jar of Rhino liner in my desk because every once in a while it hurts. It hurts to hear somebody say something negative about you or call you a mean person. I'm not a mean person. I love everybody. Democrats, Republicans, everybody. I love everyone on this planet. That's what God teaches me. It has nothing
to, when I'm talking to you or when I'm working with you, I have no idea. It doesn't occur to me whether you're Republican or Democrat. It just doesn't. And I mean, and I'm a partisan, right? I'm considered a partisan.
Right.
I'm the I'm part of the leadership of the Republican Party in Meade County, and it's like, we have to we have to work with people and talk with people every day. It doesn't matter to me if you're a Republican or Democrat when I'm working with you. All I care about is, do we believe in the same things? Now, that in the back of my mind, of course, I'm going to come out and say, hey,
That's right.
how do you lean? Because the Republican in me wants to grow the party, wants to let people know you're welcome to come over here and work with us. And we want many opinions. Because we believe iron sharpens iron, and we know that the Republican Party is not a closed party. If you believe in Republican principles, and which include
God.
Entrepreneurship, and the Constitution, right, and the freedoms that are guaranteed there, and a representative republic government.
That's right.
Then those are the things that really kind of matter. There's many things that can go on a platform, and we can all debate those till we're blue in the face. But it comes down to, how do we want to live and how do we get along? And those are the principles that I want to live by.
And let me tell you, those are the principles I believe that our governor, our governor is not necessarily living up to. And that's why I'm a fan of Daniel Cameron. And if you are, I'd like you to get to know him the same way I did and see that the American's creed lives within him, and the belief that we can be a better state under his leadership. And you can do that on October the 10th. So call Mark or the Republican Party, or reach out to us on Me Truth and buy a ticket. Come see Daniel Cameron in person.
Come talk to him.
Contribute to the campaign. This is a big contribution, and we need it because this race is close. This race is very
important.
close.
It's very important. Anyway, I don't have anything else for today, Steve.
Thanks, Mark.
Great topic. Thank you. I did want to get into some of the definitions. Maybe we'll follow up next week with.
I think it'd be very good to do that. I hope I've given you something to look for. But have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
I missed the cut. I didn't have it queued up. I missed the cut. That's all right.
What do you mean you missed the cut?